The Vatican Apostolic Library, commonly known as the Vatican Library or simply VAT, is the library of the Holy See, located in Vatican City. It was formally established in 1475. Although it is much older, it's one of the oldest libraries in the world and contains one of the most remarkable collections of historical texts. It holds 75,000 manuscripts from throughout history, as well as 1.1 million printed books, including around 8,500 incunabula. It is a research library for history, law, philosophy, science, and theology, open to anyone who can document their qualifications and research needs. Origin and foundations of the Vatican Library. Pope Nicholas V envisioned a new Rome, with extensive public works to attract foreigners and scholars to the city. He wanted to create a public library for Rome. Pope Sixtus IV founded what is now known as the Vatican Library in 1475, establishing what was then the largest collection of books in the Western world. In 2014, the Vatican Library began a 4-year project to digitize its manuscript collection, making it available online. Historical periods of the Vatican Library. The Pre-Lateran period, covering the early days of the library, dating back to the early days of the Church. Only a few volumes from this period survived, although some are very significant. The Lateran Age. It began when the library was moved to the Lateran Palace and lasted until the end of the 13th century and the reign of Pope Boniface VIII, who possessed one of the most notable collections of illuminated manuscripts in Europe. The period at Avignon. During the Avignon papacy, 7 successive popes resided in Avignon, France. This period saw a great increase in the collection of books and preservation of documents by the popes in Avignon. The pre-Vatican period, from about 1370 to 1447. The library was scattered at this time, with parts in Rome, Avignon, and elsewhere. Pope Eugene IV owned 340 books at the time of his death. The period at the Vatican. In 1451, the bibliophile Pope Nicholas V sought to establish a public library at the Vatican, partly to restore Rome as a destination for learning. Building in place of the Vatican Library. The library is located within the Vatican Palace and is entered through the Belvedere courtyard. When Pope Sixtus V commissioned the expansion and new building of the Vatican Library, he built a 3-story wing directly across from Bramante's Cortile del Belvedere. In the first semi-basement is a papyrus room and a storage area for manuscripts. The first floor contains a restoration laboratory, and the photographic archives are on the second floor. The library has 42 kilometers of shelves, that is, 26,000 shelves. It was closed for renovations on July 17, 2007, and reopened on September 20, 2010. The 3-year, €9 million renovation involved the complete closure of the library to install climate-controlled rooms. Architecture and art of the library. In the Sala di Consultation, or main reference room, of the Vatican Library stands a statue of St. Thomas Aquinas, sculpted by Caesar Aurelius. A second version of this statue stands under the portico of the entrance to the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas. The Sistine Hall of the Vatican Library is one of the most ornate parts of the building, with a magnificent fresco on the ceiling and elaborate decorations that reflect the splendor of the Renaissance and papal patronage of the arts. Organization of the Vatican Library. The catalog. This collection was originally organized by booklets to index manuscripts. As the collection grew to more than a few thousand, shelf indexes were used. The first modern cataloging system was established under Father Franz Earl between 1927 and 1939, using the Library of Congress's card cataloging system. Reading and borrowing. Historically, during the Renaissance, most books were not kept on shelves, but on wooden benches that had attached tables. Each bench was dedicated to a specific topic. Books were chained to these benches, and if a reader picked up a book, the chain remained attached to it. The Vatican Library can be accessed by 200 scholars at a time and sees 4,000 to 5,000 scholars per year, mostly academics doing postgraduate research. Privileges to use the library could be revoked for breaking house rules. Collections of the library. Manuscripts. The library was founded primarily as a manuscript library, a fact reflected in the comparatively high ratio of manuscripts to printed works in its collection. Acquisitions. Around 6,000 new books are acquired every year. The library has been enriched by numerous acquisitions over the centuries. Vatican Codex. Among the library's most famous holdings is the 1209 Vatican Greek Codex, the oldest known nearly complete manuscript of the Bible. Numismatica. This collection includes 330,000 Greek, Roman, and papal coins and medals. Notable acquisitions. The Palatine Library. In 1623, the Hereditary Palatine Library of Heidelberg, containing around 3,500 manuscripts, was given to the Holy See by Maximilian I, Duke of Bavaria, in gratitude for the political maneuverings of Pope Gregory XV. The manuscripts of Urbino. In 1657, the manuscripts of the Dukes of Urbino were acquired. In 1661, the learned Greek Leo Alatius became librarian. Queen Christina's Library. The important library of Queen Christina of Sweden was purchased after her death in 1689 by Pope Alexander VIII. It represented, for all practical purposes, the entire royal library of Sweden at that time. The Eastern section. Pope Clement XI sent scholars to the East to bring back manuscripts, and is generally considered to be the founder of the Eastern section of the library. I hope you enjoyed our story today about the Vatican Library, and look forward to seeing you soon in another fascinating story to polish and improve your English language reading and pronunciation skills. Goodbye.